we recently focused on Michael Myers references in movies that are not Michael Myers or not Halloween franchise movies. And there's tons of them. And so tonight we're going to do a similar look at Michael Myers references, only this time we're going to the smaller screen. That's right. We're going to be talking tonight about Michael Myers references in TV series and shows from the broadcast era, including and up to the streaming era that we're in now. And there's been tons of them over the past 45, 46, 47 years since the original film came out. More than you would think, believe it or not. And it's all kinds of references. And sometimes in dramas, very often in comedies, sometimes it's just a quick shout out uh, in the dialogue. Sometimes it's something visual. Sometimes it's even thematic. But there have been tons of these references, and just like with the Myers and Halloween franchise movie references, I've kind of taken it upon myself to try to catalog as many of these as possible. And we've got a whole section at HalloweenDailyNews.com where we've done articles and featured many of these references over the years. Many of the newer ones, newer meaning since the launch of HDN in 2012, so in the last 13 years. But there are some many great ones that date prior to that, and then many others that we haven't even had a chance to feature on the website or anywhere. So just like with the movie references, I've picked out a few of my personal favorite. I think it's five-ish. I've got here that I'm gonna highlight, and the again, they're not necessarily my top five of all time, but they're definitely worthy, and they're definitely five of my favorites. I'm not going to rank them in any specific order tonight because as soon as we get done, I'll remember another one that, oh man, well that's definitely a top fiver, like with the movie references. But these are definitely some of the coolest and best and just maybe unexpected or groundbreaking that I've found. And again, this is not in any way an exhaustive list, um, but hopefully this will be, like with the movie references, the beginning of a wider conversation. And all of you guys can tell me ones that you've noticed or can come back here when you spot other ones because it happens all the time. You're just watching any random show and up all of a sudden somebody just mentioned Michael Myers. Now, tonight we're going to be talking mainly about, well, how can we say they're unscripted is the word. There's not really going to be reality shows on here, although I know there's plenty of references there, and there's not really going to be like variety type shows necessarily, such as this year's Halloween episode of Saturday Night Live. There he is. And Michael has routinely made appearances on SNL and other related variety shows, sketch shows over the years. Um, Michael, of course, has appeared in all types of medium. Talk shows is another big one. He's always appearing on talk shows, whether it's the late night talk shows. Um, I've seen him referenced on daytime talk shows before. I and we've covered some of these. Here's just recently. Um, you might have saw this. Jimmy Kimmel featured Michael Myers. This was after the presidential address a while back, earlier this year. Michael Myers and Darth Vader there. in DC apparently. So you see you see the shape appear in all kinds of unlikely places. But for this discussion tonight, I'm going to be talking about um, not those type of appearances, not the talk shows, because there are a ton of them. What we are going to dig into, though, are some of his sitcom appearances and, uh, well, some of his. What would this first one be? What was Knight Rider? An action show? It's not really a drama, is it? I'm talking about the classic 80s TV series Knight Rider. That's right. Knight Rider. And yes, this first reference to the Halloween franchise, just like where we started with the movies, it's actually not a Michael Myers reference, but it is a reference to this franchise and to the most unlikely film in the franchise to be referenced. And it's not even a direct reference, it's just unbelievably cool and crazy that the classic series Knight Rider featured the classic Halloween 3 Silver Shamrock pumpkin mask. Did you guys realize this? It's from a Halloween set episode that premiered in 1984. The name of the episode is Halloween Night. And this is an actual still from the episode. That's the main character, Michael Knight, of course, played by the great David Hasselhoff, wearing a silver shamrock pumpkin mask. And I mean, it's clearly, obviously, the silver shamrock pumpkin mask. I mean, 1984. Yeah, I mean, they were actual Don Post masks that were sold, and after the movie, they would have been more popular. Not as popular as I'm sure Don Post and everybody was thinking and hoping. But here's the wildest part: it's actually got the silver shamrock button on it. Look at that. It's right there. So not only is it the mask, it's like literally a silver shamrock version of that mask, which just makes it so cool. Um, Interesting and very cool side note, this same episode of Knight Rider, Halloween Night, this 1984 Halloween episode, um, because we love our Halloween episodes in general, our Halloween holiday episodes. Uh, Michael Knight, not only does he wear a silver shamrock mask, he also goes to the Psycho House at a certain point in that same episode too. So definitely seek that out if you're obsessed with just Halloween episodes in general, which I always am, and or H3 references, which again I always am. Um, or if you just love some Knight Rider, which I always do. But what a wild and crazy reference that is. Okay, let's move a little more modern now into at least this century, but this one does predate the launch of Halloween Daily News itself. We launched here in 2012, and this reference actually predates that and goes all the way back to 2011 and an episode of the long running iconic animated series Family Guy. The name of the episode is Tom Tucker, the Man and His Dream. And here it is. It is without a doubt one of the coolest, funniest, just best references to this franchise in any way, in any medium, and it is hilarious. Um, seek out the episode. It's streaming on Hulu. If you have Hulu, you could check it out. I just rewatched it earlier today, actually getting ready for this broadcast tonight. And the gist of it is that it is revealed in the early moments of this episode that Tom Tucker, the local newscaster on the show, is in fact George P. Wilbur, who played Michael Myers in Halloween 4. And Peter loses his mind because Halloween 4 is his favorite movie of all time, he declares. and and then insanity ensues. They go to Hollywood. He wants to get Tom back into Hollywood and all this stuff. But it is just, as I've said before, sometimes whether it's a collectible, whether it's a movie reference, whether it's something like this, sometimes the fact that it exists, that it happened, that somebody actually did this, it's pretty unbelievable. Forget about the fact that it's marrying such different tones, but I love, of course, most of all, that it's so specifically Halloween 4, so specifically George P. Wilbur, the late great George P. Wilbur. And yes, Tom Morga did play Michael Myers as well in Halloween 4. Not just George P. Wilbur, but gosh, what a love letter to George P. Wilbur. And, I never got to interview him, unfortunately. I did get to meet him a few times, very fortunately, but never got to actually go on the record with him. But this would be something I would have loved to ask him about. Like, did you ever see that episode? Did they ask you about that or anything? I would love to know his thoughts on this. And again, just amazing to me, mostly, but just because it happened, because it exists, and it's just you know just so crazy. And that's oddly not even a Halloween episode of Family Guy. Um, Now let's talk about Stranger Things for a minute, shall we? Because Stranger Things also has referenced Michael Myers on numerous occasions. I always talk about how the Scream movies love the Halloween movies so much. And the Scream TV series as well loves Halloween. They referenced Michael Myers very clearly in the Scream TV series as well. That's right. Remember, kids, Scream was on TV for a little while too. Um, but Stranger Things has referenced Michael Myers in in just about every season in some way, I think. Um, in the very first season, they vocally shout out Michael Myers in dialogue. One time, I think it's Dustin who says something about Michael Myers at one point. And but then in season 2, um, it gets really awesome because when we get the introduction of the character of Max, and she shows up rocking her Michael Myers costume on Halloween night and scares the main boys from Stranger Things, who are all dressed as Ghostbusters, by the way. Um, it's such an awesome scene. And she shows up wearing this Michael Myers mask, actually at Trick or Treat Studios, which was not historically accurately available in 1983 or whenever this season took place. But it's awesome anyway. She shows up with it. She's got her pumpkin pail in one hand, her knife in the other. She scares the boys, and she has the mask throughout most of the rest of the episode. And they even uh, Funko even made a pop figure of that very scene with Max actually wearing having the Michael Myers mask on her head. I own it. It's upstairs in the living room. If I had been thinking a little more clearly earlier, I would have brought her down here, and now would be a great time to show you that show and tell. But that'll have to wait till next week, if I remember. But of course, Stranger Things was far from done with their Michael Myers shape love, because in the most recent season, season 4, a different character grabbed what is, in according to the show, the same Michael Myers mask. And here's a different character who grabs Max's mask from season 2. So they're referencing their own Michael Myers reference here. This is a reference to the reference of the reference. And of course, I love it. There's another still from that season. Um, I love Stranger Things anyway. As with most of these shows we're going to talk about, Knight Rider, I mean, you name it. But yeah, just to see the Myers mask used so funny and effectively, and also to introduce such a cool character as Max in season 2, and then to have them bring it back in season 4, episode 7, by the way, if you're looking for it. Um, yeah, I totally love it. Just the coolest. All right. Now we're going to look at a reference that, again, is actually not a Michael Myers reference at all. That's right. Silver Shamrock has gotten quite a bit of love throughout the years, sometimes in the most unexpected places, too. And actually, these next two both actually tie in with Halloween 3, actually, more than Michael Myers. This first one, I got to bring attention to, because not everybody knows about this show or remembers it or watched it when it was on, but I actually watched it as it was airing, loved every episode, and blew me away. I always recommend it to people. The name of the show is Mr. Robot. And believe it or not, Mr. Robot actually hacked into Silver Shamrock on a pivotal episode. It was actually the season premiere episode of their 4th and final season of Mr. Robot. The show was about hacking. And they actually are typing into a computer, and you can see that he's searching for Silver Shamrock. And you can see that the account name is Silver Shamrock. And then here you can see that the wire was approved by, look at that name, Connell Cochran. What? Now, if you've ever watched Mr. Robot, you might not have even noticed this. I can't even believe that I noticed it when I was watching it, because it's the type thing that it was just on the screen for a few seconds, maybe not even. But I was like, I think that said Silver Shamrock. And sure enough, I went back and I had to do an article about it immediately, of course. But again, just the most unlikely places. Often it's sitcoms and it's jokes, but every type genre, and you never know why it's going to pop up. And that's something I would love to talk to the creator of that show, Sam Ismail, sometime about. What's that all about, man? Was Colin Cochran really behind everything in Mr. Robot? Because in my head canon, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm feeling. All right. Yes, I do have another one. This one is the most recent that I'm going to point out tonight, and then we're going to get some comments from you guys. But last year, you might recall, there was a really good, gosh, I mean, it was funny, but it was definitely had serious moments of horror. So it was a horror comedy, but a great series aired on Peacock last year called Hysteria, and I really like this series. Very heavy metal infused. It's about a heavy metal band, um, set in the '80s, and but they actually had some really cool references to to a lot of just '80s um, iconography, but that included some Halloween franchise love. And in the very first episode, in fact, Bruce Campbell's character um, has a fun little scene and bit of dialogue that has to do with Dr. Loomis and references directly the original Halloween. And so as soon as that happened, I'm like, wow, well, the creators of this show are speaking my language right away. Um, Later on in another episode, though, a different character actually references again not just Halloween, not just Loomis or Myers, but Halloween 3 specifically. And I'm just like, this is awesome. um, and again, the show has the show is great all the way around. I thought. I wish they were doing another season, but especially for you heavy metal fans out there, I know there are a few. Definitely recommend it. Great soundtrack. Yeah, it's everything about it's awesome. I was able to speak to the creators of this show, Hysteria, Matthew Scott Kane and David A. Goodman, last year, and and we talked about the heavy metal soundtrack, which I love. And but we also talked a little bit about these what I would call deep cut references. Um, not just the obvious Michael Myers or Halloween rep, but Loomis specifically. Not Halloween 2, maybe the more well known and favorite sequel, but Halloween 3, like that's a deep cut. And even things like Ben Cooper costumes, which of course the '80s was kind of the last gasp of Ben Cooper style costumes before they kind of faded away. Um, so here I'm going to play another flashback video. This is a very short clip, but this is from my interview with the creators of the series Hysteria, and you will hear them. This is David A. Goodman and Matthew Scott Kane, and you'll hear them speak a little bit about their love for Halloween and also Halloween.
So many great shout outs to the 80s, including some great Halloween centric stuff like Dr. Loomis, and Halloween 3
Hmm.
even gets a shout out. Even Ben Cooper
Uh-huh.
costumes, which I
Yep.
love. Um,
Yep.
do you guys enjoy Halloween yourself in real life? Do you obviously you seem to have an affinity for it with some of those deep cut references?
Yeah, I think I probably do more than David, if I had to
Oh,
guess.
no. I mean, Halloween is my favorite holiday.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Yeah, no question.
Oh, I know.
The Halloween decorations in my house are always this joy that and the scaring the little kids who come to the door now, and then as a kid, dressing up was always so exciting. But go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, more specifically to the Halloween like franchise.
Oh, the
I
franchise.
that
Oh, I'm sorry.
that was no, we're talking about both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I when I was about 4 or 5 years old, my dad had this tradition of every Thursday he would iron his clothes for the week and put a VHS tape on and watch that while he's ironing. This Thursday, I come home from school and he doesn't hear that I'm home. So I'm kind of sneaking through the house and peek my head around the corner and he's ironing and watching the original Halloween. Mind you, I'm 4 or 5 years old. I just kind of slink into the room and sit behind the couch and watch it from behind the couch, unbeknownst to him, up until the point where Michael pins the guy up to the wall and then does the creepy head tilt look. And I was so scared, I gasped out loud. And my dad looked over and saw me there and just felt like, oh, how long have you been watching? I said, basically from the beginning. He said, all right, well, then just come on up and finish it. And I came up and sat on the sofa and watched the rest of it. And then it kind of seemed like the floodgates were broken in that moment. Absolutely. I wouldn't have become a horror fan if not for that film.
Now I turn the discussion over to you. That is, of course, the topic of this week's poll. We want to hear your favorite Michael Myers or Halloween franchise, Silver Shamrock, whatever reference in any show that you've ever seen. And this can be again from the streaming era, from the broadcast era, um, just any series episodes that give the shape a shout out, or a Silver Shamrock shout out, a Shamrock shout out.